Hello everyone, my name is Susanna Guerra. This is my final presentation for EDUC 522. The unit I created revolves around the life and works of Edgar Allan Poe, also known as the father of the detective story. This 10th grade English unit will be taught through 15 lessons which cater to Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. They are naturalist, verbal, interpersonal, intrapersonal, logical mathematical, visual spatial, existential, kinesthetic, and musical. This 10th grade English unit will be taught through 15 lessons which cater to Howard Gardner's theory. This unit, of course, integrates Common Core standards for English language arts and those approved by the International Society for Technology and Education. But for all of you skeptical and traditional educators, my complete list of standards can be found here. Now let's continue with the logistics of my unit on Poe. The 15 lessons will be divided into 5 sections. Students will first learn about the author's life. They will then read The Raven, The Telltale Heart, The Pit and the Pendulum, and The Cask of Amontillado, respectively. In the first section, students will learn about the author's life through an animated timeline. To check for understanding, they will have to paraphrase what they've learned in 2 paragraphs. Students will then create a word cloud so they can visually see their summaries. For homework, students will record themselves reading their summaries on iMovie, add appropriate images, and create a digital story. The finished product will look something like this. In the first section, students will learn about the author.
Edgar Allan Poe was born to traveling actors in Boston on January 19, 1809. When he was 3 years old, his mother died of tuberculosis. Some reports say that his father died as well, though most others speculate that he simply left the family. As an orphan, Poe was informally adopted by John Allan and his wife, Frances Ballantine Allan.
It goes on and on. Then, Edgar Allan Poe's famous poem, The Raven, will be the first assigned reading for the unit. As they read, students will be asked to look for patterns or repetition in the poem. For homework, students will chart found patterns using the website Poplet to color code their findings. Most students will realize that rhyming words create a certain pattern. Therefore, the rest of this lesson will bridge connections between how a poem sounds and how to correctly diagnose the form and meter of a poem. In this case, students will learn that the raven has rhyming trochaic octometer. Next, students will be given a link so they can read The Telltale Heart from their own homes. To check understanding, the students will be asked several questions to make personal connections with the text. This story has the protagonist go mad after killing an old man because he hears the dead heartbeat through the floorboards of his home. Therefore, the activity will deal with sound. Students will select a scene in the story and record themselves reading it. Over the next few days, this audio will be edited and a minimum of 5 sound effects will be added in order to create an audio story. When finalized, the project will sound something like this. P.S. I added a quote just to help you follow along. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. They were making a mockery of my horror. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. For the next story, students will learn about the Spanish Inquisition by adding important dates to the timeline of Poe used on day 1. Students will then be required to grapple with their table partners as to why Poe would be interested in the Inquisition so much so as to write The Pit and the Pendulum. For the next story, this story has the protagonist tied down and trapped under the swing of a pendulum with a blade that will soon cut his body. Midway through the reading, students will work together to calculate how long the protagonist will live based off of the height of the ceiling, the speed of the pendulum's descent, and the passage of time as described by Poe. Once the entire story has been read, the class will individually create figurines which carefully show where the pendulum would mutilate our protagonist. Finally, the class will read The Cask of Amontillado. In this story, the protagonist dies suffocated behind a brick wall. Thus, each student will build a scale model of the wall using the story as a guide for the exact dimensions. Once completed, students will capture 5 different angles of their scaled model with a video camera. As the days progress, they will also add audio. The recording must include descriptive details about the wall from the story recorded through Songify. If they feel so inclined, they can also enhance it with the GarageBand app. In the end, students will combine their video with the song that they created and present it as a mini music video for their final project. Thus, each student will... That's the end of my unit, but before concluding, I must thank our wonderful professor for being so attentive to the needs of her students. Though this class taught me a plethora of technological sources I can use in the future, I have also learned that technology cannot create the bond between students and teachers, just like technology cannot make a student learn. It is still the duty of the teacher or professor to care for the pupils and invest in their interests. In the end, it will be this that enhances the student's desire to learn, and it is this that has become my greatest takeaway from my time with Dr. Kordoff. In the end, it will be this that